Come on now. Look. Welcome to Gabbing Games. For I don't know, it's July. What do we got? July 26th, fellas. Not too shabby. We're going to make it through the summer after all, probably. I'm going to finish eating my Tootsie Roll Pop, and we're going to dive into the news. Now, somebody in the chat, I think it was a cab, was saying, hey, be careful. There's a lot of God of War Ragnarok leaks that are starting to show up on Twitter. I just went to Twitter and I Googled it and checked it out. Not Googled it. I went to Twitter and I put it in the search. I didn't see any of it. But yeah, for sure, we're not going to be talking about that shit on today's stream. We will not spoil the shit. The only thing I will tell you that relates to that would be if there are leaks, I'll give you the news that, hey, there are leaks. Here's where you're going to find them to try to avoid them. But if you really care about that stuff, you just got to stay off the fucking internet, man. You got to stay off the fucking internet. Okay, hang on. Almost done. Almost done. Come on. Focus. Brian King, hello, buddy. He says, hey, hit the like button. You goddamn right. Today's a, hello, Ginger D. I'm done eating, I promise. Today's a Gabbing Games Live, which means it's very chat-heavy, interactive. If you want to call in the Discord, share your views at the right time, you know, all that good stuff. All that good stuff. We're around for you. Addie Pie says there's an image circulating right now regarding God of War, and that could be photoshopped. Well, I know there's the image that was from the cover of the God of War art book that came out, and I'm not going to tell you what it was, but there, I guess, was a spoiler in that particular on that particular image. What's weird, though, is the image I saw that was the God of War art book cover is not, maybe there's a couple of different versions of it, because the one I saw is the one everyone's already seen that has Kratos and Atreus fighting Freya, whatever the fuck her name is, on the sled. So we all know that one, but I'm not going to tell you what the other one is. But anyway, it's out there. Be careful. You know how this goes in the age of the internet. We have a lot to talk about today. I want to give you a little bit of updates on what's coming to the show very, very soon. Oh, by the way, just real quick, there's two things happening now. We've got super chats turned on if you're listening to the show after the fact, which a lot of people do. Thank you. Appreciate it. If you want to guarantee a question that you have about today's show gets read and answered, you can do it by way of, I'll probably answer it if it's a good question. But if it's a shit question, I'll answer it anyway, by way of a super thanks. That pops it out to me, makes me take a look at it, and also allows me to continue feeding my dog. Otherwise, he's going to starve to death, and I'm going to put it on the show. Also, I want to let you know, Thursday, we will be streaming live the Annapurna showcase. That's July 28th at, I'm not sure what time, noon. So I'll be streaming at noon. Annapurna is one of my favorite publishers. I don't necessarily love every game they make, but I love the consistency. I love the creativity. I love the just the I don't know what the word is. I love the consistency of respect they give the medium of interactivity. And so I'm a fan. Some of my favorite games of all time are Annapurna games, specifically Edith Finch. I'm a little confounded by, but I'm loving Neon White right now. I haven't played Stray yet. That's their jam. We may be getting new looks at games such as Cocoon, which I think is a DLC. Is it just called Cocoon? Okay, Cocoon Open Roads, which has been a very rough and tumble production. That's the one where a bunch of the developers actually called Annapurna and said, our game director's an asshole, save us. And Annapurna's like, go fuck yourself. We're not babysitters. Figure your shit out. Thirsty Suitors, which I think is already out. Storyteller and Skin Deep. And obviously that's what we know about. Hopefully we're getting some surprises. So that's coming on the 28th, which is a couple days away. I'll be streaming that live. Tomorrow, gird your loins. I don't know what that means. Guard your loins? Why? Adam Sessler will be here tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning. California time, I will be interviewing him. I have known Adam for now, goddamn, going on, oh, holy shit, man, who the fuck knows? Probably since God of War days, 2004, I've known this guy. We're not pals because we don't live in the same place, but we're super progressive, we're super obnoxious, we're super passionate, so it wouldn't strike me as odd if we lived in the same place, we'd be pals. But I like the guy. I like the cut of his jib. I know he's got some controversy around him. Some people don't like him at all. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about video games. We'll talk about old G4, new G4. And later in the show, he will absolutely be taking your calls. Now, Monday, less than a week away, boom, we got another controversial figure. Review Tech USA, also known as Rich, of the very popular YouTube channel Review Tech USA. He's always stepping in some controversy. He's always stepping in some doo-doo. He's also a great member here of our Diet Soda Soldiers. I appreciate that, Rich, very, very much. We will be talking about all things internet and YouTube. We'll be talking about some of his recent controversies and just shooting the shit as pals do. That will be airing on Gabbin' and Games. Here, it will also be airing on Rich's channel over on Review Tech. So please do check it out. Brett Moore has been a member for 6 months of the goddamn Culticalypso. I appreciate that, pal. That's good eating. He says, Jaffe, you crazy son of a gun. I didn't know you had Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors back there. Great film. Yeah, if you don't know what he's talking about, yeah, it is a great film. It's a great play. If you see Yoda back there, screen right under above the Pac-Man, that's Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. I got that at Midsummer Scream, which is the big Halloween horror summer show in where do they do that? Long Beach. It's a great goddamn show. Caveman wants you to know Stray was a little disappointing. He says good gameplay and level design. Story was kind of basic. Well, it's about a cat. Environmentalism and classism, blah, blah, blah. I have not played it, but I will. Okay. When am I getting the quartering one, says Nine Lives. Quartering, quartering worries me a bit only because if it wasn't for the fact, like, here's what I'll tell you about the quartering. And I've maybe had a conversation with him once or twice on Twitter. And I think he follows me now. I don't like the way he frames his stories, and I think he is he seems like he's kind of a toxic fellow, but that's okay. I don't mind if I disagree with you. The issue had more to do with I know he did something way back in the past, like at a magic convention, and it was like he was sexually harassing someone. And I don't know. I mean, unless he's like publicly, made amends for that, I just feel like I don't really want to deal with folks like that. But maybe that's way in the past or whatever. Mr. K says the quartering wouldn't do this show. I bet he would. I think he and we had a little rigmarole and we're like, we should do an interview. I mean, I need to find out a little bit more information. I don't mind talking to people who have different opinions. A lot of people were like, what are you doing having Sessler on the goddamn show? Well, first off, Sessler and I are going to have a progressive dance-off because my guess is I'm more progressive than Adam Sessler. But I do know a number of people who are engaged with this particular channel, which I appreciate, are like, God damn, you're going to have Adam Sessler on? I hate him. He's terrible, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, even Beezer says, LMAO, toxic fellow, you mean like Adam Sessler. I've never experienced him to be toxic. So unless there is some kind of evidence one has, I'm going to speak to him like the guy I know. And unless he says something that suggests he's a bad egg, which I've never heard him say, we're going to have a nice chat. 7 and 9s, thank you for being a member of Cult Calypso for 5 months, motherfucker. I appreciate it. He says, apparently Sony's, quote, very interested in acquiring Square Enix. Also, have you seen the Kotor remake news? Oh, baby, I'm right on the tip. I'm on the TLC tip. I never knew what that meant. I still kind of don't. Are they referring to a penis tip? Ooh, on the TLC. It doesn't matter. Let's get into the news. What is my dog doing? Oh, that's probably somebody at the door. Okay. Yeah, well, hey, let's talk about it. We're going to jump right into the Star Wars news. This is just breaking about an hour ago. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, which you may or may not have known was going to be a PlayStation exclusive, timed exclusive for 3 to 6 months or 8 months or whatever. Apparently, they're having some serious problems. Now, I do want to say, if the reporting, which is from Little Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, is to be believed, it probably is, it seems believable, This will help you paint a stark difference between the management at Sony and the management at Xbox. This is from GameRant.com, talking about Schreier's reporting. Reportedly, the Kotor remake developer Asper Media, which I don't think has ever made like a full-on AAA game. I think they do a bunch of iPad ports, right? But maybe I'm wrong. They fired the game's art director, Jason Miner. I wonder if I've worked with that guy. That name sounds familiar. And design director, Brad Pence, unexpectedly. In a series of meetings held by Asper throughout July, revealed the project was on pause. How and why were not specified in the reporting done by good Sir Jason Schreier. In the meantime, Asper is looking for new contracts and development opportunities. Bloomberg sources, by the way, again, I'm reading some of this directly from Joshy Duckworth over at GameRant. Bloomberg sources also revealed that Asper finalized, now this is where the rubber meets the road. Daniel says Sony doesn't greenlight Garbaggio. You're not wrong. Bloomberg sources revealed Asper finalized a demo of Knights of the Old Republic remake to show Lucasfilm and Sony into June. The devs were allegedly excited with the game thus far and felt like they were on track. But apparently the demo was not well received. Asper Studios heads are said to have told staff the demo isn't where they need it to be. And so they're taking on other work. There's a rumor that Saber Interactive, who makes or publishes the, what is that great series? Sniper 5 just came out, great game, has been helping them with outsource work, but apparently there's a rumor they might take over the project and maybe it won't be killed. But ultimately, Asper had originally told Lucas and Sony that the game would be ready by 2025. By end of the year. Now they're saying it's 2025 is what they need. So, again, rubber meets the road with Sony. They go in there, they see it, it's not working. They're not mean people. They're good business folks, and they have enough experience executive producing and externally producing games to be able to look at something and go, you guys have a very low percentage chance of getting this plane off the runway. So, it sucks. It absolutely sucks to have a game canceled, but Sony doesn't cancel shit. I mean, no one cancels. Sony doesn't cancel Gold. They cancel shit. No one cancels Gold, right? Even people who ask me, well, what about Scalebound? Why'd they kill that? It's like, well, trust me, if Microsoft saw a game in Scalebound that looked amazing and profitable, you think they'd kill it? Of course not. But Sony does a good job at balancing what they keep and what they kill. All right, let's move forward for a moment. Speaking of Xbox, they did their financial call today, and here's the news you need to know. It's interesting. So they're saying that Xbox had record revenue. It was their second best Q4 in Xbox's history. Hardware was down, services were down. A lot of that is shortage of hardware, they're saying. A lot of that is also the COVID spike that brought up everybody in video games has now kind of, dropped a little bit. But even with that drop, it's record revenue is what they're saying. Now, what I thought was really interesting about this, here's what the Kendra Goodenough, come on, man. With that name, Goodenough, come on, man. You got to change it. Kendra Goodenough told The Verge this. She says, this is from Video Games Chronicle. Quote, we're seeing strong demand, but coming off the highs we saw in the last couple of years, pandemic and such, with the launch. Nevertheless, the $3.45 billion in quarterly sales for Xbox reps the division's second best quarter ever. Now and it's their highest fiscal sales ever for Xbox, according to an analyst that was covering this on Twitter. Now, here's what I find the most interesting is the reason, and they did not give you, per usual, they did not give you a subscription number for Gamepass. They never seem to. Once a year they do. I guess we'll get one again in January. I don't fucking know. Xbox content and services revenue declined 6%. Here we go. Driven by lower engagement hours and monetization in third-party and first-party content. It was offset by growth in Game Pass subscriptions. But it's important to note that lower engagement is suggestive of not enough good games. I think it's suggestive of Halo not doing what they had hoped it would do. I peeled off. I loved it. One of my favorite games last year. It was almost my favorite game of last year. I peeled off. There's nothing new to do with it. Peeled off Forza. The only thing to come back is the Hot Wheels track, and I don't want to drop $20 on it for something I'll probably play for 20 minutes. So I do think that's worrisome. However, there's also some good news for Xbox as well. Xbox Act now again, I'm not an expert. By the way, before we get on, I want to let you know that Addy Pie, Jimmy Ludwig, Boba Vet, A2, and Gravedigger 606 have all become members of the Diet Soda Soldiers because of the wonderful, kind generosity of our very own Tsi Liu, who has been a member for quite some time. Thank you, buddy, for that, and welcome to all you goddamn new members. Appreciate it, Tsi. So Xbox, this is a story that's coming out of pure Xbox, but it's trackable. It's not a rumor or anything. According to a report by the financial analyst over at a website called Seeking Alpha, Microsoft has submitted all the acquisitions relevant information to the FTC, America's Federal Trade Commission. Apparently, this was several weeks ago. They're waiting on the FTC's response. Okay. As per the FTC's guidance page, once both parties, in this case, Microsoft and Activision, have handed over all the requests, which they now say they have, there's a 30-day wait for the merger to move to its next stage. If the FTC has no issues with the information provided by both the seller and the buyer, then the deal could potentially be approved once the 30-day window closes. Now, what does that mean? By the way, I'll tell you what it means in 1 second. I want to let you know our good buddy 616 Entertainment that will be co-hosting. He has promised, and I need his experience. Jaffe Mania, using WWE 2K22, has been a member for 20 months. Thank you, sir. He says, Diet Soda Soldiers Unite. Shout out to Alexa Bliss, just because. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. And fuck Vince McMahon. Okay, now. But anyway, yeah, so what does that mean, right? Well, let's assume it does hit before the end of the year. Let's assume that the deal goes through and it closes in November, in September, October, whatever. FTC does not approve deals. Yes, they do. FTC has to give it the Federal Trade Commission. If you're doing a merger or if you're doing an acquisition, you have to jump through some hoops of the FTC before the deal can close. I'm not necessarily saying the head of the FTC has to sit down and say, I'll do the paperwork to have you merge together. But if you don't have the blessing, what do you think's going to happen? You think they can merge without the FTC's approval? But if it closes, Seattle Chef, I did shout out to one of my viewers gifting 5 memberships. I did. Is there somebody else do one? I did that. Okay. Ask Facebook. What? Okay. Look, the point is this. If this happens, even though Xbox right now has really an anemic lineup coming into Christmas, boy, I'll tell you, if they could get, I was just looking at this list, if they could get all of the Call of Duties, can you imagine? I was looking through all the Call of Duties ever made, and it's just like, can you imagine that drop, including Day 1 Modern Warfare 2? Not exclusive, but Day 1 drop. Think about that. I mean, Call of Duty 2, 3, Modern Warfare, just on and on. There's like 17 of the goddamn things, and that's just Call of Duty. Imagine what that whole fucking catalog is going to expand. And once that happens, fellas, I do start to wonder. And you guys know how I feel about Microsoft management. I do start to wonder how Sony, and their earnings call is coming up in 2 days. So we'll see how they're doing. But imagine how that's going to just make that catalog for people at Christmas time very, very interested. in jumping on board. So I'm excited. Fuck you, Brian King. You know good and well. Would it kill you to say something nice about the system you don't have, Brian King? When I'm not suggesting that suddenly the world will stop tilting or spinning because suddenly you can play Call of Duty 2 on Gamepass. That's not my point. My point is it's about the optics. It's about the messaging. It's about going into a store and going, hey, I can get an Xbox with Modern Warfare 2, the brand new game, day one. I'm also going to get $100 in whatever currency day one if I'm a member of Game Pass for Call of Duty Warzone, which is coming out this year as well. And look at this catalog of old Activision Blizzard games that are also released at the same time. I'm not suggesting that Call of Duty, yes, player says Call of Duty will boost Game Pass subscribers. That's all I'm fucking saying. That's all I'm fucking saying. Brian King says it would kill me. That is the problem. Wouldn't it be something if Brian King this whole time we just thought he was a total Sony fanboy and there was no healing him? And it turns out he's got some rare disease that if Xbox pulls ahead of Sony, he will die. Yes, Henry Studio, Jaffe, hello. Will you and Adam be accepting questions or calls tomorrow? Absolutely. As you may or may not know, if you've ever been to any of our interviews, we end up doing that at the end of the show than the start, but we will do it. Our buddy Max Ankar says it's more about the message than how great it will be to play the old games. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. I agree with you, Max. Random Moose Brain says, when is Fall Guys game night, Jaffe? If you guys want it, we'll do it soon. We'll do it really, really soon. Okay. Let us talk about Sony a little bit. This is I don't know if worrisome is the right word, because I don't think leaks for the most part really harm sales unless it happens to be something where, what is leaked, like a lot of people will tell you, I don't know if they're vocal minority, will tell you, oh, that Last of Us 2 leaks really hurt sales. Maybe they did, but that was sort of an extreme case of what was leaked being very divisive, right? But in most cases, if it ends up being leaked that, oh, Atreus dies at the end of God of War Ragnarok or whatever, I don't know that. I'm just making that up. I can't imagine they're going to do that. I don't think it's going to hurt sales, right? I bring it up, though, because there's another report. And again, this one is now coming from Jeff Grubb, who is listed here on PlayStation Lifestyle as a journalist / insider, whatever the fuck that is. And a guy named Nick Baker. Okay, so they're leakers. They leak all the time. Here's what they said in a recent podcast. This is Baker says, Sony may have a little bit of an issue, a security problem, Baker says in the video, with Grubb chiming in to agree. Baker added that he's getting offers for numerous other Sony first-party leaks, and he also teased an upcoming God of War Ragnarok leak. So just a heads up, if you don't like leaks, be aware that these guys will be dropping them and they'll be hitting the internet. But it is odd that Sony seems to really get hit with these. I know the Last of Us 2 leak was attributed to a QA guy who was working at home because of COVID. I don't know where they're working now, but you would think that issue has been resolved. I don't know if they have the tech to go, you could watermark, I guess, every single fucking game you send out. A digital watermark and a visual one in case you film it with your phone, and you could know who's leaking it, I suppose. I mean, I don't know if they have that tech, but I don't imagine it would be that difficult. But it is concerning that they seem to be unable to keep whatever secrets they would like to keep. That's troubling, and I'm sure they're trying to figure it out. Brent Moore, Mr. K says, I recorded that clip of Jaffe saying they'll do the D&D game. We will do the D&D game. If you don't know what he's talking about, we're doing a one session campaign for Dungeons and Dragons for God of War Cult of Calypso members who sign up at the right time in the next couple of months. And I'm hiring a professional dungeon master to DM it because I've never done that and I've never even played it. I talked to Colin Moriarty yesterday. I said, hey, would you be interested and coming on and playing D&D with us. He says, yeah, I would love to. So assuming we can schedule it, we got Colin at one of the chairs. So, you know, fuck you, Mr. K. It's going to happen. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. Let's move on. Here's something that's not a rumor. This is coming directly from a senior environment texture artist at Naughty Dog. And if you guys keep an eye on Brian King, who, by the way, just launched his own brand new site. You'll see it's on the ad right there. There you go. Icon Era. That's his site, baby. He's like, I'm taking on the big dogs of Reset Era and NeoGAF and going over there. It's a great website. Check it out. You can see it on our link tree. But listen, this guy, Jonathan Benanos, I'm surprised he hadn't been asked to take this down. I'm not going to refresh my page. Maybe it's not there anymore. Senior environment texture artist at Naughty Dog. He must know Max. Max and him must be pals together. He says, glad you're hyped, man. Somebody tweeted, super hyped to see The Last of Us on PC. Getting a nice upgrade with it is more than welcome, and I'm super hyped. Amazing work, guys. And Jonathan tweets back, glad to hear you're hyped, man. PC version should come out a bit later, but very soon after the PS5 release. Okay, so I want you to think on that. I want you to think on that for a minute. So I at first some people were speculating, well, that means that you're going to get the 2023 PC version because that's when HBO early winterish are launching the title. I don't think so. I think this is going to be a holiday release for PlayStation. I think you're going to get this around Black Friday. I don't think I do think they're going to pick up some Last of Us video game fans from the show. I don't think it's enough people who, if you already have a PC capable of playing The Last of Us, there's a good chance you've already fucking played The Last of Us. I could be wrong, but I think that's true. Isn't The Last of Us, one of The Last of Us is already on PC, right? Maybe not, but I don't think I think this is a Christmas release. We'll find out. But the point is, whether or not it's February or whether or not it's November, you're talking less than 6 months, right? October, November, December, January, 5 months, worst case. If those two events, whether it's the holidays or the TV show launching, are to be believed. Zaf says we're getting closer to Sony releasing first part day one and date on console. I don't think that will ever happen, only because there's, it would just hurt the hardware, but I certainly think that gap's going to get smaller and smaller. Okay, that's terrible to say, Brian King. I'm not even going to read that. Okay, so you guys are saying Last of Us has never been on PC. So maybe it does make more sense than to wait after the show comes on and then it's like, hey, I have a great PC. I love the show. Let me get it. I don't know. We'll find out. Find out together, won't we? One more bit of Last of Us news, which I like this. I think this is the right call. When I would get calls when I worked at Sony, hey, Jaffe, do you want to do Kratos in, what was that game he was in? Obviously, Mortal Kombat. Do you want to have Sweet Tooth in Rocket League or whatever? Yeah, fuck it. I didn't care. Because, frankly, the M-rated violent character of Sweet Tooth it's already so kind of dumb and goofy. Not in a disrespectful way to Sweet Tooth, but it's over the top. It's like Freddy Krueger or whatever, right? But so I didn't really care where he went. And in most days, I don't care where the stuff I've worked on goes. I think the brand kind of works if you take the piss out of it or if you look at it jokingly or whatever. I think with Last of Us, Neil Druckmann, the director, kind of laid down the law with this and says that there's no truth to the rumors that the Last of Us characters are coming to Fortnite. And I think that's right. That's the right fucking call. Look, man, I don't think did it hurt the brand of Superman? No. But Superman running in an ad from Fortnite that was all over the internet that got God knows how many fucking views. With a gun, Superman with a fucking machine gun and a pistol. I'm sorry, that's not Superman. It's just not. And do I think sales of comics went down? No, but I think I wouldn't have done it. And I think it's good that they're going, Joel doesn't really make any sense in Fortnite. And I'm sure they asked. Nathan Drake made sense. Spider-Man makes sense. But Kratos made sense. It was stupid, but it's Kratos. Whatever. Joel, come on now. So he's saying that's not going to happen. Fuck you, Eric. Eric says nobody likes Superman anyway. Fuck you. Superman is one of the best superheroes. If you don't respect and love the Superman, it's only because in your own personal life, you don't have optimism. You don't have a sense of hope, a ray of sunshine that everything's going to be all right eventually. It'll work itself out. That's what Superman represents. Brett Moore says, seeing my favorite characters do the silly dances kills me. I hate that too, but okay. What about Batman using guns? Yeah, but Batman's an idiot. Batman needs therapy. He can't get over his parents. It happened over 40 years ago, but I know what you're saying. Yes, absolutely. You guys are still on this thing about day and date PC. Yeah, they will. I would be stunned if they don't release their shit day and date PC when it's a games as a service, of course. But I'm talking about more of the narrative heavy single player stuff. Okay. Fuck you, Bacon Magma. Superman is a lame propaganda boycott character. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know what the individual words mean, but when you put together lame propaganda boycott character and there's no commas in it, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay, here we go. Yeah, they don't want to put the Punisher in there. I agree with that. Don't put the Punisher in Fortnite. Let's move on. This is fascinating. This is Boy Scout. Okay. Superman is a lame propaganda Boy Scout. Again, I love the idea that in the world as it is, there is a character that's still out there going, fuck you. I don't care if you think it's cheesy. I don't care if you think it's cringy. I don't care if you think it's not cool. I stand up for the little guy. Well, I stand up for the person who can't stand up for themselves in the face of what they're dealing with. I am there for people. And you can say that shitty, but I think if you go through your life and you don't have that little nugget of faith, not in religion, but just in goodness, shit, I don't want to know you, sir. I don't want to know you. Listen to this. Games industry biz. I'm not gonna read you the whole article, but I'm gonna read you a lot of the article. I'm gonna link it right now because I don't like that I'm taking so much of their content and just reading it verbatim. But this is fascinating. There it is. There it is right there. I just linked it. This is from a guy named James Batchelor. And he was talking to, he did a report on Square Enix. He's talking to Stefan Dastos, who was Eidos' Montreal's founder, okay? Talking about what went wrong and what went tits up with the Eidos Crystal Dynamics sale and the company in general once they were sold to Square, okay? So the news that Square Enix had sold Crystal, Eidos, and Square Enix Montreal, plus all the IP, for $300 million. This happened a couple of months ago. You remember this? It was like, what in the fuck? $300 million for all that good stuff? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Even though Stefan was surprised by the price tag, the Eidos Montreal founder wasn't terribly surprised at how the studio's relationship with Square had turned out, saying the roots of its demise were evident before he left the company in 2013. He's quoted now saying it was a trajectory that could have been predicted. I left because things were missing at the head office. Pre-Square Enix acquisition, Eidos had a great tradition of development, but they didn't and don't have superior knowledge of how to sell games, and that was quite clear. You could look at all the great games that Eidos did, and apart from Tomb Raider back in the day, the Hitmans and all those could have been 6, 7, 8 million selling games. Deus Ex could have been that too. We hit good numbers, but I always felt that the way to sell games that Eidos used were so traditional and conventional. It wasn't innovative, and it was always underselling the quality of the games. I hoped, he says, when Square purchased Eidos in 2009, that would change things. Now, this is about to come in when everybody talks about why was Square always saying these games underperformed, right? That was always like Guardians underperformed, Avengers underperformed, Tomb Raider it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. He speaks to that. He says it was clear the main purpose of Eidos Montreal was to increase capacity of production. So they were going to let, IO do Hitman. They were going to let Crystal do their Tomb Raider games, and Montreal was going to do back catalog stuff like Thief and Deus Ex, blah, blah, blah. That was the goal. So Square has become notorious for declaring multi-million selling games to be disappointments, the article says. And Stefan reports this extended behind the scenes as well. He recalls a meeting regarding the company's financial performance for 2012, where the Eidos group of studios was expected to generate $65 million. Instead, they were told they had lost $65 million. He kept calling his bosses. No one was giving him any answer. He says the pressure was starting to build, and my employees towards me, towards my supervisors or my superiors. I think when people are in a crisis where there's a lot of situations, you do see their core behavior or values. And I didn't like what I saw. He's talking about the management at Eidos in London. There was really a lack of leadership, courage, and communication. It's just the funniest thing about this. The funniest thing about this to me is, and there's a little bit more, I'll read you and say, hello, Mid-Toker, is he's not recycling. Truth Teller says, Jaffe, Stefan left Square 10 years ago. He's recycling rumors. He's telling you, if you're listening, and maybe you're not listening, that when he was there from the very beginning, the people in London, the management in London of Eidos, and ultimately that trickled down to Montreal Square as well as Crystal Dynamics, did not have courage, he says, leadership, and communication. That's what sealed their fate, was a lack of just leadership. These are real. That's the funniest thing, is a lot of times we talk about these companies like they're giant companies. They should be able to solve their own problems. It's a giant company. You have all these resources, but they're still vulnerable to politics and getting people into positions where they shouldn't be. And it sounds like, at least if you believe this guy, that's what happened there. In their annual fiscal reports, the story goes on, Japan always added one or two phrases saying, we were disappointed with certain games. They didn't reach expectations, as we're talking about. And they did that strictly, says Stefan, for certain games that were done outside of Japan. He says, if I read between the lines, Square Enix Japan was not as committed as we hoped. And there are rumors, obviously, that with all these actives of mergers and acquisitions, this is where he's talking about the rumors, Sony would really like to have Square in their wheelhouse. I heard rumors that Sony said they were really interested in Square in Tokyo, but not the rest. So I think the president, CEO of Square, made it like a garage sale to get rid of us. I don't understand. I still don't understand why Sony or Xbox would not want these teams. These teams are a hair's breadth away from being able to be as good as Naughty Dog and Santa Monica and Sucker Punch in terms of executing single player games. Why in the fuck they didn't at least pick up one of them to do Uncharted games while Naughty Dog moves on to something new? I don't fucking know. $300 million? Good Lord, Jim Ryan shits $300 million, and that's just by breakfast. They spent the same company that bought Square, Embracer, bought Gearbox, which is a great company and all, but for $1.3 billion. The fuck is that? He says it was a train. This is the final part. He says it was a train wreck in slow motion, to my eyes anyway. It was predictable that the train was not going in a good direction. And maybe that justified the $300 million low price point. That's really not a lot. It doesn't make sense. He finally talks about the CEO of Embracer who bought them. He says, I don't know how he's managing it up to now. Yeah, you leave autonomy to the studios to a certain point, but you leave autonomy where there's a strong vision. IO knew what they wanted to do. I think they were able to do what they did, which is leave and get their rights back and go on to sign up for James Bond because their head office and they were such a strong vision. I think they weren't able to do it when they were within the group of Eidos because the head office, but I would leave certain groups autonomous when they have demonstrated they have a clear vision, know-how, and leadership. And again, I've mentioned all the heads of studios that left 3 years ago. There's a reason why I wasn't the only one who left. He finally says, I don't know why this new version would be successful in the next 10 years because the same people who work there that lead the company are still the same players. So, you know, I'm just saying that sometimes when you read about this shit and you learn about this shit, when people come out and start leaking, you go, you know, I just don't know. I can't think of any situation I've been in the corporate world where someone was a shit leader and that ever got turned around. Right? I mean, I can't think of, like, can you at your job or at one of the jobs you've had where you go to work and you're like, oh, this manager's a piece of shit. It's never going to get better. So it's almost like make the money you need while you're looking for a better job somewhere else. Because if you don't have, especially in entertainment, if you don't have good management of that entertainment, you're never going to be able to execute your vision. You won't have the resources. You won't have the support. That's heartbreaking, man. That's fucking heartbreaking as a creator. I'm telling you, I've been there. It sucks. Yeah, but Square Enix is a different story, truth teller. It may be that Sony ends up buying them. I don't fucking know. There is a rumor. They said that Sony just hired a union busting, a guy for mergers and acquisitions with union busting experience. I don't know which is more interesting, that they see the need to have a union busting lawyer on their payroll because they see maybe things are changing. I don't think they are, but maybe they do. Or that they are planning on some big mergers coming up. And I've read that as well, that's a rumor. So maybe it will be Square. We'll see. Beat says Xbox was disappointed in the Shadow of the Tomb Raider exclusivity deal, and it's a terrible look for a studio to mess up Avengers. Not worth buying. I don't agree with that because I think both of those things do not speak to the quality of the games that were made. Avengers is a wonderfully made game. It's not a wonderfully designed game. It's kind of a shit design game in terms of the single player. It's incredibly dull. But the execution of it is wonderful. The execution of the Lara Croft games are wonderful. So the things you're mentioning are, they read the market bad. They didn't have a great designer, but take those great teams and put them with the Sony magic, man. Come on now. Have you seen the Kotor remake? Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Eric. Okay. It's an antitrust lawyer, not a union busting. I thought he was a union busting guy. Beezer. Okay. So then in that case, then yeah, maybe they are. It's all about the acquisitions. Okay, cool. Yeah. And that's what Brian King is saying. He didn't think it was union busting. He's a monopoly expert. Okay. Well, then let's take that for a brief moment. We'll get off the story in a second. But in that case, I wonder why Square would trigger people who would be concerned that they would need, to such a degree that they would need an expert in fending off monopoly claims, right? I mean, Square Enix is, at least they have been, I don't know anymore, they have been the de facto RPG maker, but I mean, that's enough to raise eyebrows. I don't know. Okay. Let us talk. No, we're not talking about it. We're going to talk about it, but not in the way you think. I'm going to show you a very tasteless picture right now. Here it is. This is an NFT GameStop was selling. They took down an NFT based on a 9/11 victim. If you haven't seen the very famous, very sad, heartbreaking picture or seen the documentary called The Falling Man, this is the exact same pose, the exact same background of a man who on 9/11 had to make the choice of, do I stay here and burn alive in the building and die of smoke inhalation and just dying of being burnt to a crisp? Or do I jump, and if chances are I land and there's no, I get maybe 20 seconds of life extra, but that's what he did. And so 9/11 contracted a bunch of people, not 9/11, GameStop, it's not the same thing, contacted a bunch of people to make these NFTs. And one guy, according to them, they got rid of him. He lost his contracts. You can't sell this on their exchange anymore, but it's still out there. So if you own the NFT, I imagine it will eventually become super fucking valuable, to the point that I do wonder, I have no evidence of this, but it wouldn't surprise me given the history of this company if they didn't plan for this. But but the more important thing, the thing that really popped for me on this story, profiting off misery, Brian, that's right. The thing that really popped for me on this story, though, is the fact that, my daughter is 19. Well, let's see, 9/11 was 2001, so 21 years ago, give or take. There's a lot of people who were probably making NFT art that look at 9/11 in the same way I look at Pearl Harbor. They don't understand, and I don't blame them because they weren't there. It's just something that happened in history before they got here. So, maybe this was like some 20-year-old, 19-year-old artist who's like, yeah, I'll make you some fucking NFTs and all that shit. But I don't know. You think somebody at but again, GameStop, I've always thought they were a terrible company, a shitty company, a bankrupt company morally and maybe more. And so it doesn't surprise me, but there you go. That's that story. Okay, let's move on. I just thought it was just kind of stunning. Hey, let's talk VR briefly. We're going to get to the bloody waters that Sony is swimming into and Microsoft are swimming into. We're going to get to it. But I want to talk first about PlayStation showing off early looks at PSVR2. Now, there's nothing, well, let me get this first. Henry says, Family Guy has taught modern youth and modern Republicans to laugh at misery. I think laughing at misery is important. I think laughing at tragedy is important. But there's laughing at it and profiting off it, I think, are two obviously very different things. Very, very different things. Okay, so Sony comes out today. They drop a little bit more information. There's nothing in what they're saying, for the most part, that is all that unique from what Meta has already been doing with number 2, but I'll show it to you. So they showed the interface. I will say the VR headset vibration excites me about the PSVR 2, because I have my latest and greatest is this right here, is the Quest 2, and I love it. It's great. But and at first I thought there was like wind, and it's not. It's just that when a loud sound plays, it does something that kind of makes it feel, like it's a blow to your face. But short of the vibration, and obviously the exclusive games, which is really all that matters to some extent, a lot of it is what you already have. They have the pass through where you can kind of wear your thing and tap the thing, and you can basically see the world, which is great, very, very effective, very necessary. They have this, that the first time I played this, and if you haven't played it and you eventually get on this, it'll feel like magic, where you can draw around your living room a barrier, and the barrier rises up like a Tron grid, and that is your play space, and it fills in, and it feels like you're really in that world. So, it's, but short of that, that's pretty much what they announced, but it's nice to know it's coming along. And they have a cinematic mode, 1920 1080 HDR video format. I don't know what the cinematic mode is in this one. But of course they're going to be launching Ghostbusters, Resident Evil Village, Horizon Call of the Mountain. Max, understandably, will not tell us what he's working on or how cool this system is, other than to say he is working on VR, and he said he's gotten to play around with this, and he's very, very impressed. Very, very impressed. Have they talked about PSVR games working for PSVR 2, or still nothing about that? I have not heard anything yet about that. What I will say, though, is if you're interested in VR, just heads up, August 1st, I went online before the stream. You can still go and get this. This is the 125 gigabyte or 124. You can get this for $299. but they're raising the price $100 August 1st. And they're also raising the price about $50 on all the refurbished. On the brand new ones for $299, they're throwing in a game, they're throwing in Beat Saber. But if you've been on the fence about it and you're like, oh, I'll wait till the holidays, that's going to cost you $100 if you wait. You got a couple more days before you can get this. But Meta is raising the price. Okay. But no, I'm looking forward to the PSVR2. Absolutely. Okay. So PSVR2 will be a lot of people's first VR porn experience. Can you do porn on PS? I guess you can through the browser, right? I imagine they would be putting up all kinds of blocks for that, but I guess not. Sebastian says $500 for PSVR2. So what's that like? 900 Canadian. They did get rid of the Facebook requirement, Jake, if you own a Meta, but I don't think it goes into effect until, again, maybe I think it's August 1st. But it is, you know, the games I think are better so far on PlayStation, but I agree. It's never going to sell as well as the Meta because you've got to have the hardware of the PlayStation and then you've got to buy the hardware of PSVR. So it's a really expensive proposition compared to, you know, jumping into Meta, which will only cost you at the moment $299. Max is saying nope. Oh, I think he's saying they haven't gotten rid of the Facebook yet, but they are. That's coming. Somebody said, before we get to the next story, somebody said there is, Xbox outsold Sony again. I don't know anything about that. Is there a link to that? Xbox sells Sony. I don't care until we get all the pipeline, you know, worked out. I'm dealing with it. You know, it's really about who's got the units. Although people were saying that it's easier to get a PS5 these days. Not necessarily easier than getting an Xbox, but yeah, I don't see the story you're talking about. So if you want to send me a link, I'd be happy to open it and take a look at it because I'm always interested in stuff like that. 7 to 9 says, Jaffe, off topic, but do you think they're finally going to put World of Warcraft on Xbox once the Activision deal closes? You know, I think they are absolutely going to put it on Gamepass. I don't know if it's ever going to go to console because the interface would just have to have such a fucking... I'm sure they've tried it. I mean, I'm sure Blizzard has looked at the numbers and said, this makes a lot of sense. We should get into this. And they just can't make it work with all the shortcuts and all that shit. I just don't think so. But I mean, I don't know. Jaffe says, Dougie Monroe, what are you more excited for? RE4 Remake, Last of Us Remake, Dead Space Remake, Callisto Protocol, or Ragnarok? I will give them to you in order. I'm excited for all of them, but I would say Dead Space Remake is number 5. Last of Us Remake is number 4. Resident Evil Remake 4 is number 3. Ragnarok is number 2. And Callisto Protocol is, along with The Mortuary's Assistant, which is an indie horror game coming any day now on PC. Those are my two most anticipated games right now, is Callisto and Mortuaries. Hello, Cody. He says, Jaffe, it's my first time in the chat. I really enjoy watching you, my guy. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Cody Rainey. I appreciate you being here, sir. It's very kind of you. Say those nice things. It makes me old pirate heart happy. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, send me some tweets, man. If you see it that Xbox made news today with that, I'd like to talk about it. Real quick, I just want to bring this up. I know a lot of people are over Funko Pops. I get it, but I wanted to bring it up for two reasons. Funko has announced they're going to get into the video game business. They've signed up with 1010. Now, if you don't know 1010, 1010 is a company by Arthur Parsons and John Burton. I worked with John Burton on Mickey Mania. We couldn't stand each other. I think we get along much better now, but back then I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and he knew exactly what he was doing, but he wasn't used to a designer. He did the design with his art buddy. I think it was Andy. And so it was a real clash of cultures and it was a nightmare. But since then, I've learned to respect the guy. We've talked a little bit. I dig the guy, but he's went on to do Traveler's Tales, it was Traveler's Tales, but they went on to become this powerhouse with Lego, sold the company, got super rich, broke away, did 1010. Okay. So that's the company that Funko has partnered with, who really basically put the Lego games on the map. And they're saying they're going to try to do it with a AAA action platformer with the Funko characters. Now, whether or not, see, here's where it gets interesting to me. If it's just like Freddy Funko, and if you don't know Freddy Funko, Freddy Funko is just their mascot. If they're like, we're going to tell you all about the Freddy Funko world, who gives a shit? Go fuck yourself. But if they've somehow managed to be able to do what we're seeing everywhere with all these multiverses and stuff, if they can somehow get these properties to play together, and they're making a platform game, and it's like, hey, it's, 4-player online or split screen, well, whatever. I don't know what they're going to do, but I love the mixing and the matching. I would love to have Spider-Man, teaming up with Freddie Mercury, because there's a Freddie Mercury Funko Pop, teaming up with Sweet Tooth, or whatever. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. I just think it's kind of cool. My radar is up. My interest is up. Because I want to see what John does next, and because I think Funko can be a really valuable property if they do it with their licenses. If they just try to make a Freddy Funko game, nobody cares. Nobody cares. You know what people do care about, though? Hang on. This game is getting a lot of hype, a lot of juice. This is let me show this to you real quick. This is Rollerdrome. It is a PlayStation 5 exclusive for the next, once it comes out, I think in August, it'll be a PS exclusive for, I think, 3 to 6 months. Okay. Journalists have gotten preview copies, and it has been pretty much overwhelmingly glowing. This is kind of a cross between Tony Hawk and Max Payne is what they say. It's single player, I believe. It's not just like go off and do a bunch of tricks. It's literally missions and you're killing robots, and that's what I understand. But I want to show you the praise this has gotten in previews already. This could be something really fucking special. One guy who got it tweets, the feeling of movement is incredible. It's hard not to be excited about the game's full release next month. Eurogamer says, if you haven't already guessed, Rollerdrome is brilliant. We've got Engadget says Rollerdrome preview, twitchy dystopian blood sport is my new favorite genre. And then if you go to the news and you just look at the headlines, it's from the guys who did Ollie Ollie World, I think. A pulse-pounding clash of wheels and weaponry. Where did this other guy? There was some just glowing fucking praise. I was just like, holy shit. Let's see. View all the news. Yeah, here we go. Smooth bullet time blood sport. Skating sensation. Mixes Tony Hawk with a fistful of bullets. The very best of Roll 7. It's like slapping roller skates on Max Payne. So when I saw this back when it was like one of those screenshot Saturdays that if you follow developers, that developers do. And I saw it when it was just like, gray blocked out levels. And even then I was like, dude, I remember tweeting to the guy. I'm like, that looks fucking awesome. And then I just kind of forgot about it. And then I saw this again recently, obviously, when Sony put it in one of their state of plays. And I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. But I could kind of see it getting lost in the crowd and whatever if it doesn't just blow people's fucking minds. Well, it sounds like it's blowing people's fucking minds. What I wonder, and I have no evidence of this, it just kind of makes sense to me. I wonder if they're not going to try to pick this up and put it day one on PS Extra and PS Premium as a day one drop. Or you can obviously buy it for however much it costs, right? HD Game says, John Burton, is he related to Jack Burton? Who? Come on, don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me hanging, HD Gamer. Don't act like you know what you're talking about and then show up without it, without the goods, baby. Listen to me. I'm going to play this now. I'm going to play Aliens. Look at this. I got Aliens Fireteam Elite. I bought it, and then it's also on Game Pass now. I've never played it with anybody. The single player was fine. It kind of came and went. Nobody really talked about it. Today, Season 4 is out. Apparently, there's a brand new game mode. And there are new... No, did he not write back? You're supposed to say Jack Burton, me. So it's got crossplay now across PC, Xbox, and Sony. It also has new modes and new rank ups. So, and apparently new story missions are coming in the next roadmap. So I may get a game going with the God of War and Cult of Calypso members pretty soon on this too, because I would like to play it. It's free. It's on at least on Xbox if you have it on Game Pass, and it's kind of they've polished it and pushed it and dropped a bunch of new content, so we should play it. It's a good game, says Playa. Not enough content to get over 100 hours. I don't need more than 20 hours. Brett Moore says, I thought the game died on arrival. I kind of did too. I didn't think it died, but it just kind of came and went. We'll be talking about that in just a couple of minutes, about these games that are sort of dying. Max Ankar, you'll play. Oh, come on now. Max is in. So it's me and Max. Let me know. I think it's a 4-player Max co-op. So if you want to play with me and you want to play with one of the key visionaries behind God of War and now VR, let me know over on the Discord. We'll set up a game. So what do you mean no campaign? There is a campaign. There's totally a campaign. What are you talking about? I don't know what that is, Bacon. Bacon says, do you agree with Nintendo removing Message Freaks from the eShop? I don't know what that is. Okay. It's 3-player Max. Oh, fuck. Okay, well then I just need one person over on the Discord. Max says it's 4-player. All right, well if you're a member, the highest members get it. So hit me up on Discord, and then I'll work with Max and you guys set it up. Listen to this real quick. I'm just going to show you a couple things when we get to the main story of the day. This is a game that was announced called Serum, a first-person survival game. I only bring this up because, and I won't tell you who, and I won't get into the specifics of his pitch. But there is a very famous comic book writer who told me, who pitched me this game once, and I'm not going to get into what it is or who it is, and it wasn't this, but it reminded me of this. But let me tell you what I don't know much about this game. I just want to tell you what I like about it, what I think is cool. So it's an open world first-person survival game on PC. Been there, done that. Craft, hunt, adapt, blah, 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 blah. But the twist is that the environment has been poisoned by this serum. And there are serum infected mutant animals that you have to fight off. I don't know if it's PvP and PvE or just PvE. But it says the hook is you have to inject your serum into your own system as well to stay alive. Even though it will change you physically and mentally, you will die if you don't get more of it every few minutes. But every living thing is potential serum source, so you can harvest the serum from enemies, blah, blah, blah. Now, what I think is amazing about that, if it's what I think it is, and all they're giving us to go on right now, because it's early, is it will change you physically and mentally. The idea of every time you inject yourself with this shit, you don't know what abilities you're going to get. You don't know what powers you're going to get. You don't know what deficiencies you're going to get. It's basically like every time you give yourself a shot, suddenly you're a different superhero, and you have to adapt on the fly. Is that what this is? It sounds like it. One would think that because I think that's a fucking hot ass hook. You would assume perhaps then that they would make it more clear, but this is only the first piece of PR coming out of it. I think it's a great idea. If it is that, just letting you know, bringing it to your attention because it's pretty fucking cool. Okay. I'm going to skip some shit. Nobody needs to talk about that. That's for fucking babies. Am I right, boy? Okay, before we get into the main story, I want to show you something. I know it's a game show, but this is relevant. When I first read Massage Freak, Carlos says Massage Freak is a Japanese sexual harassment game. I don't know anything about it. So you're saying Bacon is saying they took it off? Yes, CR3D says, massage, Jaffe, do you know how to read? Yeah, but with Bacon Magma, who literally the last thing he typed was boycott when it should have been Boy Scout, you got to give me a little bit of room to maneuver with what he types. Fucker. The point, though, is I don't know what it is, so I can't really have an opinion on if it's good or bad they got rid of it. Okay. When I read Ready Player One, I know a lot of people don't like Ready Player One. It's nostalgia porn. I don't care. I like nostalgia porn. I love the book. I really like the movie a lot. And I got this recommendation for this book from Kotaku, and they said it's kind of like more of that sort of gaming geek stuff. Okay. I love Ready Player One, but this as a novel, it is so much better written and it is so fucking good. This is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Okay. I know. Why are you talking about books, Jaffe? That's video games. It is about video game designers. It is about making games. It's a novel. It's fiction, but it is so well written and it's so well researched that I'm like, did this woman work in video games? And I don't know. She's been a writer forever, but it's so knowledgeable about everything from like little minor observations, like the uselessness of design documents or crunch or the stress of making a game. It references all the shit you love as a gamer. Everything from, Carmack and Romero to Nintendo and Miyamoto and Tetris. It is swimming in the waters of wonderful gaming geek culture. And on top of it, it happens to be just a fucking phenomenally written book. So if you want to read, I know not all you guys read. Some of you do, though. It'll cost you $30. It's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Gabrielle Zevin. I would love to have her on the show, but she hates the internet and doesn't like to do interviews for the most part unless it's in promotion of the book, and I probably won't be able to get to her, but it's good stuff. I did not listen to the audiobook. I'm reading it right now. I haven't finished it. It's wonderful, though. The MetaQuest price hike. Yes, Brett Moore. We did talk about that just a little bit ago. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get to the main story. Oh, I need to read Snow Crash, Brian East. I've not read that yet, believe it or not. I know that's the tits up. I'm using that wrong. It doesn't matter. Okay. I'm going to take 30 seconds just to center, and then we're going to be right. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here. But if you're listening, you're like, did he pass away? No, I'm just meditating for 30 seconds, and then I will be back. And we will talk about the main story of the day, which has to do with Sony and Xbox chasing free-to-play audiences, games as service audiences at their own goddamn cockadoodie peril. Give me 30. Here we go. Okay. Welcome back. Yeah, Jeffy rebooted. That's right, you fuck. Listen. I'm gonna get into this next story. I wanna, as I'm talking about it, this story has been brought to you by, not that, our absolutely fantastically generous God of War members. Now I know that these images are not updated because I am absolutely shit with ADD. What you can be guaranteed, though, is even there are people on here who are no longer God of War members. That's okay, because what it means is when I do update it this week, if you're a God of War member, you'll probably stay on the chart a lot longer. But these good folks really keep the stream going. They keep it running. They inspire me with the idea that maybe we're making something good here that could actually sustain itself one day, and I sure do appreciate it. So here's the story that I really want to talk about. It starts with Multiverses, right? So Multiverses comes out. It's an open beta today. So last week I got in. You had to kind of jump through some stupid hoops, but it is what it is. Brett Moore is Downfall Media. But now if you want it, go get it. It's on pretty much everything except mobile phones, which I'm sure it's coming to smartphones eventually because they're doing everything right with this game at the moment. It's on PlayStation 4 and 5. It's on Xbox. It's on PC at the moment. Okay. And this is it if you don't know. If you don't know Multiverses, it's the Warner Brothers, for the most part, properties meet Smash Bros, right? And I've been playing it. I really like it. I really fucking like it. I don't have the fighting skill or experience to tell you if it's as good as, better than Smash Bros. And I certainly, I enjoy it more than Brawlhalla, and I like Brawlhalla quite a bit. So this is out, just letting you know, and I'll be playing it with the stream pretty soon, maybe even, this week. I would love to. It's great. Haven't spent any money yet, but I'm almost going to do it. I'm almost going to drop some ducats on this fucking thing. So this comes out and it's doing gangbusters at the moment, right? So there's a story here that's talking about from VGC, the Multiverse Open Beta, which launched today, has 140,000 concurrent players. Let's go to the current one and let's see 2 hours. Let's see where it's at right now. Refresh. It's currently only dropped off about 3,200. So it's 136,000 players right now that are playing this title. Now, just because it comes out and does well the first week or so, doesn't mean shit. Will it have legs? I don't fucking know. But like I said, they're doing everything right. They're putting it on all the systems for the most part. And I'll tell you what else I think they're doing right in a second, but let's keep talking about its success for a minute. This is interesting. What is this from? This is from VGC. It says the closed beta, which was last week, had more concurrent users than any fighter ever. Now, to be fair, the only other fighter that they have on their list that is free is Brawlhalla. Right? So Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter V, Nickelodeon, all those are games you have to buy. But even Brawlhalla, which is not only free and on all the systems, including mobile phone, has never broken the 35,000 concurrent. And these guys were almost double that at 60,000, right? So it's definitely got people interested, okay? And listen to this. This is exciting. I mean, I like this game, fellas. I love the brands, right? I love the fucking brands. Let me just tell you what's coming. Right, we already got all these characters. We know who all the characters are right now. This is the launch, and I think they just launched with, LeBron James came in today, and Rick and Morty are coming soon. Okay, here are the rumors of fighters that will be coming online any day, any week. I don't know what their release cadence is on Multiverses, but hopefully it's fast and furious. But there were data mines that let us know that Gandalf is coming. What? 11 from Stranger Things is coming. What? These are two I don't know. I don't know who Craig of the Creek is, and I don't watch Game of Thrones, so Dannery is coming, right? Okay, fine. But here's some other ones. Marvin the Martian, Raven from Teen Titans, Gizmo, Stripe from the fucking Gremlins, Joker, Static, I think Static Shock, Poison Ivy, Black Adam, Beetlejuice, and the Wicked Witch of the West from the Wizard of Oz motion picture show. Oh, it's from the regular show? Yeah, I don't know who that is. Some of these guys I don't know. But I'm digging it. It's great. It's really fucking great. Okay. And these things are coming, and if they just keep going on and on and on, fucking awesome. Okay. I bring this up. Thank you, God of War members. Let me pop this over here. And if you are interested in being a God of War member, not only do you get a sexy shout out, but you get to advertise whatever you want to advertise, as long as it doesn't break terms of service over there on the right there, right? You know what I'm saying? It's pretty cool too, because you can play free for all, you can play 2v2 teams, or you can play, there's one other mode right now, but so we'll see. We'll see how it does. We'll see if it has legs. But I bring this up as part of a bigger, fascinating to me. Oh, Hank Hill. Is Hank Hill Warner Brothers though? That's Fox. That's Disney. See, Disney's got this kart game that just left beta, closed beta, that I was part of. I forget what it was called. And I have to imagine they're looking at this and going, because right now they have Pixar, live action Disney like Johnny Depp, Pirates, and classic Disney. I have to assume we'll be getting Fox brands like King of the Hill, Simpsons, Alien, and Star Wars, and Marvel. If not, they're fucking morons. Oh, 1v1's the other version. Right. Okay. Of multiverses. Okay. So anyway, the point though is that what fascinates me about this, and we have to take a little tangent, but it's planned. So don't worry, I'll get back to this. But we did Drawn to Death. Drawn to Death was a terrible failure, critically, commercially. We know that, or people who follow the stream know that. Okay. So after Drawn to Death, we had a couple of opportunities. We went with Sony. Now, I have massive respect and just, I love this guy. He's a phenomenal executive. I refuse to show anybody what the game is until he says it's okay. Because at the time, PR didn't want to. And I'm like, yeah, man, whenever it's okay to show people. But we went with Sony, who said, look, you know, Drawn to Death didn't happen. It didn't fly, but we still want to work with you guys. We want to do another, you know, service-based game. And we're like, okay. And we had another option, but we said, no, Sony's great. And it ended up getting canceled for really it wasn't like, oh, the game is bad. They just shifted this business plan around, whatever. But the point is, we all, the Sony producers who were great and us at Eat, Sleep, Play, we went into it and said, okay, Drawn to Death was a personal art project, just like God of War was, by the way, just like Twisted Metal was, but that one didn't hit. Okay. This one, we are going to aim for the bullseye of the commercial free-to-play market. It is going to be T. It is going to have characters that are very easy to like. They may not be interesting all that much, but they're not going to offend anybody. It's going to be bright colors. It's going to be easy to play, hard to master, all the shit that you hear. And it is this sort of flop sweat mentality every time one of these big games comes out, whether it's Fortnite or Fall Guys or Rocket League, where you're with the team on the whiteboard and you're just sitting there going, okay, what are they doing right? What can we learn from their things that we can take that lesson and apply it to our game, right? It is really almost like you're reverse engineering success. It never works, by the way. It never fucking works, by the way, for the most part. Maybe if you become second runner up, but beyond that, no. And we know that because of the failure of a lot of Me Too Fortnite games, right? So I want to show you, I want to walk you through some things that are happening right now. Now, this is old news. I'm going to get to the update in a second, okay? Roller Champions. The other day it was reported from, again, I guess Jeff Grubb is like, hey, Roller Champions that just came out in May is already being prepped to be canceled by Ubisoft, right? Roller Champions is the kind of future sport with the ball in the ovals where you're roller skating around. It's really fun. It's very shallow, but it's really fun. And it's very Fortnite looking, all that shit. Very, what's the word? Very inoffensive, not violent, and play with your family, blah, blah, blah. But they were saying, hey, we're knocking this thing off. It didn't work. We're not making any money. Okay. And then, the next day Ubisoft comes out and says, well, let us clear that up. And this isn't even, I don't know who these people are. I don't know if Roller Champions is a third-person developer or if they are Ubisoft employees. Hang on, let me find out. Who developed Roller Champions? And I asked this because, let's see. So Ubisoft Montreal, Roller Champions was done by Ubisoft. So these are Ubisoft employees. So it's not like they're not getting the whole story from the publisher. Okay. So this is what they wrote. Hello Champions. They tweeted this out. Let's get this out of the way first. Roller Champions is not getting canceled and Ubisoft fully supports it. You can rest assured we'll keep you posted as we roll forward. And then it just goes into we're extending the current season indefinitely because instead of adding new content, we want to fix some bugs and fix some tuning and address the complaints you guys have had. And maybe they're right? Maybe they're right. Maybe what Jeff Grubb got was X people removed from the source. And what the source was saying is we are delaying season 2. And he somehow got that communicated to him that they're shutting it down. But it wouldn't surprise me if they're shutting it down, right? If you look at, so Ubisoft said this, during the last financial call they had, Ubisoft claimed Roller Champions shows better results compared to the Hyperscape game, which was a battle royale game that they closed down this year, only after 1 year. What does that mean? They didn't say it was making bank. They just said it's showing better results. That can mean anything, right? But then it was, we don't know where it's at. It opened at number 1 on the free-to-play charts on PS5, PS4. It was number 3 for June. I'm sure it's dropped even more, but that's kind of what we know. If you go over to Microsoft games, these are all their free to play games, of which Roller Champions is. It's nowhere in the top, whatever this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's like 48. It's like 50. It's the top. Oh, it's right here, Jaffe. The top 50. Let's refresh and see if anything's changed. I want to see if Multiverses is up there, because Multiverses I just saw that's still right there. I don't know how often they update it, but so anyway, it's definitely not in the zeitgeist, to the point that when this rumor came out that they were killing it, I think most people were like, oh, okay. It's on top free-to-play games on Xbox, Sebastian. I'm on Xbox right now. Fortnite's number 1. Am I missing it somewhere? What do you mean it's at the top? Oh, you're saying the number is at the top. You're saying it player 31? Okay, maybe I'm missing it. Hang on. Okay, I'm looking. If you're listening, you're like, what are you doing, Jaffe? I'm looking at this list of all the games that are free to play right now. Oh, Multiverse is 31. Yeah, there's no roller on this. Okay. So it seems like it's probably not doing delightfully. And I'm bringing this up for a few reasons. If you look at Knockout City, which was also great, by the way. Knockout City, if you don't know, was the dodgeball game from EA. I believe EA published it. Yeah. It was phenomenal. Well, I don't want to be hyperbolic, but for a free-to-play, not even free-to-play, for a multiplayer game, it played well. It was fun. It was different enough. And it was really satisfying. And I played maybe 4 matches and I was pretty much fucking done with it. Not because it was bad. I just was done with it. I had things to do. Their all-time peak, players right now, according to this, is 453. I want to go, and it's not on, it is on Steam. Let's see where it's at on Steam right now. And this is all going somewhere. I'm not just talking out my butthole. Hang on now. Here it is. Let's put in Knockout City. So right now, Knockout City is being played by 9,000 people. That's not terrible. And it has gone free to play. So that's something to pay attention to as well. And then you can also look at, I'm bringing all this up because I'm trying to paint a picture. Here's Destruction All-Stars, by the way. Sony obviously doesn't really give you this data on their exclusive shit, but according to this PS time tracker, which is all I could find, it's on average, it's like between when it came out, or December 19th and July, they had accumulation of 2,100 players, right? If you look at the rank by month, it opened up at like number 12, and within a month, it dropped to number 98, right? So I bring it up. Now, wait a minute. CR3D says, yeah, Jaffe, but you have ADD. Most people don't tire of things so easily. They can focus and get good and appreciate the mechanics in its depth. No, I'm sorry. We're not talking about the same thing. Multiverses, I can't wait to get back to. I'm not saying I'll play it forever, but it's keeping me a lot longer. The Disney racing game kept me a lot longer. Hearthstone, I'm still playing after 5 fucking years. There are games that, now I will agree with you that on certain games like shooters, it's rare I'll stick with those for all that time. Bacon Magma, you can pretend you're bored all you want, but this is going to affect Sony and it's going to affect Microsoft because this is fascinating. If you're not bright enough to understand, have somebody explain it to you. This is fascinating because Sony and Microsoft are putting huge amounts of eggs into this basket. They didn't buy Bungie for $2.9 billion because they want Destiny. They bought Bungie because they want help with the infrastructure and with the experience of running these service-based games, okay? It is not, fuck you, Real Shadow. It's not a hate stream. It's fascinating, moron, because let's connect the dots for a moment, shall we? Here are the dots. If you go back a couple of years, this is what Sean Layden said. Sean Layden says, he was talking to GameBiz Industry. Sean's concerns are rooted in reality that for all the revenue growth seen in the console space, this may as well be the next famous talking point, just like Miyamoto's a game is late only once, but it's a bad game is bad forever or whatever. He says audience growth remains elusive. The number of people who own consoles today is basically the same as it was in the late 1990s. Around 240 to 260 million. Sean says we're just getting people in the gaming world to spend more money. They're not getting more people buying consoles. They're capped. And he goes on to say with each console generation, the cost of games goes up 2x. So PS4 games, he would know he ran the whole goddamn thing. So PS4 games were 100 to 150 million. Stands to reason PS5 games that he was doing before he left, when they hit their stride, will be in excess of 200 million. It's going to be very difficult for more than a handful of large players to compete in that space. So he's been talking about cheaper games, shorter games. Fine. Here's the point. Where do they go, right? They cannot only continue being the PlayStation of old for exactly the reason Sean is saying. When you are dealing with $200+ million budgets, that's why a 9 million seller, not that game was 9 million, not that the Days Gone was 9 million, but 9 million ain't what it used to be, right? You've got to break into the zeitgeist in a big, bad, meaningful way. Or you have to break in enough that it feels like the sequel will do that for you. So one of the reasons I was not surprised because he's a smart fella, Colin Moriarty as well. Seems that the news they came out with for 10 million sales for Last of Us probably was a little disappointing for Sony. Okay, so let's just assume for the moment, unless they figure out a way to reskin the cat, you're going to get less of these massive budget single-player AAA games. Not because they don't want to make them, not because they're not the best in the business ever at making them, but because the return on the investment isn't as good. So then they look over to where all the money is. Service games, free-to-play games. Okay, they got 10 to 12 games coming. I know one of them now, I can tell you, is Twisted Metal. I'm not going to tell you how I know that, but they are making a Twisted Metal. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what it's like. I don't know if they've cracked the nut, but if it's basically Twisted Metal, you can kiss that money goodbye. Even if the show, which I have faith in the people making it, becomes the next fucking West Wing. If you're basically just making a car combat game and you haven't cracked the nut of how to make it sticky to customers today, kiss the fucking thing goodbye, okay? They have Destruction All-Stars. That's clearly underperforming, and I like that game. They've improved that game significantly. They've just launched a brand new kind of big patch for it. It still isn't sticky, okay? Sony, I don't know here's what I can tell you. When you sit at the whiteboard, like we did, and we tried to reverse engineer success in the games as a service space, nothing ever made sense. Now, factions might work. But nothing that we read or tried to do seemed like if we did it, we would. It's not as easy as like a single player game. Single player games are hard to execute, but it's easy to know what you have to execute. Sony is going to need to find, if they exist, the same kind of geniuses and artists that they had doing single player games that are going to be able to dominate in this space. And the only thing that I can think of, and the Xbox is the same, who in their fucking right mind would think that Halo would not be the most streamed, most played game, or at least in the top 10, less than a year since it dropped? Come on. We're less than a year before we got the beta, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe not. Maybe it was in the summer, but Xbox has the same problem. Okay. The only thing I can figure is if you look at multiverses, and multiverses may not have legs either, but let's assume it does, is it's on all the platforms. Check. It's free. Check. I think Sony knows they're doing that. And it doesn't go that far outside of the box. It goes outside of the box a little bit, right? It's Smash Bros. I know that with Warner Brothers. It's Mario Kart with the Disney Pixar Marvel characters. It's Fortnite, but with cooler characters for Apex Legends or whatever. And yeah, there are twists and turns, but then you think of some of these games like Roller Champions, like the upcoming Knockout City or whatever it's called, which I played the beta for, which is great. I don't think it's going to stick. Destruction All-Star, like anything that goes so far out of the norm that's almost over-designed. There was a brilliant game that was like a first-person shooter that played with time, and it was like so clever that came out. Nobody played it. Nobody gave a shit because they need to find that sweet spot of going, it's got to be conceptually strong and the mechanics cannot be show-offy. It's got to be what you fucking know. And even with that, I don't know if that's enough for success. I would be terrified. But maybe that's how you do it. It's like, look, we can't go back. We'll always make single-player games. We'll always do great with those. But we know that the cash cow that was is getting harder and harder to get milk from. Mixed metaphor, you know what I'm saying? Because the budgets are going up and the ceiling is not growing. And we don't fucking know how these games, what makes a successful games as service game, at least not on console. They're very successful console free-to-play games, but Sony has never made one of them, including mine. When I heard Twisted Metal was a real thing, come on now. I mean, maybe they've cracked it, though. Maybe they've cracked it. So my point is, Sony and Microsoft are sailing into some waters that are very bloody. It reminds me of when Nintendo's Iwata spoke at GDC one year, and he was talking about they came up with the DS and the Wii because they knew they couldn't compete with the bloody red seas of the best graphics in the business. So they had to find their own angle. I think this is very similar. I think you have to go in to those bloody waters, but you've got to find a way that's exclusive and unique to your own culture. And I don't know what that is. Okay. Neo Hagen says, Jaffe, they have Bungie and 5% of Epic. I think that two sources of how to will help a little to know how must run this kind of game. I think you're absolutely right on how to run the kind of game, right? How to make something maybe a little stickier, how to make money at it, how to run it at a technical level, how to engage the community, on and on and on and on. Yes, but I don't think either of those companies know how to get the lightning in a bottle of Fortnite or Destiny. I mean, I could be wrong, but that even when you hear Jim Ryan talk about it, I think they're doing the spaghetti method because nobody fucking knows what's going to hit. Fall Guys? Who could have seen Fall Guys? Bacon says, what about Nintendo? Do they need to do the same thing? Eventually, yeah, I guess. But right now, Nintendo doesn't have to spend near the money that Sony and Microsoft do to make these fucking games. So, and the other option is maybe you say, hey, you know what we're good at? We're really fucking good at the single player story stuff. We need to find a way for our audience to be satisfied making these games great, but with less money. And I don't know what percentage of Sony fans love their games primarily because of the production value. Like if they were to come out with The Last of Us 2 or Ghost of Tsushima, it played exactly the same, but it looked like a B title. I know they would lose some audience. Would they lose a lot of audience? Enough to make it not worth their while? Enough to keep them out of the lead position in consoles because, you know, people want to buy something they can't get anywhere else. That's why they buy consoles or one console over the other. I don't know. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on because I want to show you one thing that's happening. This is fascinating to me. All this is fascinating. I love all this stuff. One of the things here's one of the things I think Sony could do and should do and probably are doing. Media Molecules Dreams, I think, again, I have no evidence of this. I think it's safe to say has not returned on the investment anywhere close to what they were hoping. Okay. But this game, if they can get it in position to be on PC, to be on tablets, to be on PlayStation, to be free, like Roblox, like Core Engine, and they can monetize it via buying aspects for costumes to play and also build, and they can simplify, at least if you're using a mouse and keyboard, making some of these fucking games. I think that could be one. If you're not aware of this, this happened today. I didn't even know this was a thing. I made a video and then my sound cut out. So there I am down there talking, but well, you can't really see me because I'm over the square. But this is called DreamsCon. And it's not networked. I mean, I'm a big fan of, I am a big fan of the idea of virtual conventions. I could go off on just a love letter to what conventions will be in 5, 10, 20 years, Comic-Con online and shit. But right now, the convention is fine. It's not networked. It's basically like 20 halls or 30 or 40 halls that you walk around and you see the stuff people have been making in Dreams. If you want to play their game, you have to actually go into Dreams and go to it. And it's not seamless and blah, blah, blah. But this is happening right now in Dreams. It's really fucking cool because you can see things people have made and you can add the vast majority of the things people have made to your own environments, right? And let me see if I can just scrub through this real quick to show you. I mean, like this guy made this cannon that you can get and it does really cool shit. You know, it's just stuff like that, right? And it's happening right now. It's worth checking out. And then you can also see their, they have all these halls where they have different things that you can see in the show floor. I think there's like 60 halls and they're just filled with creative ideas and stuff. So I look at this and I say, this could be what they use if you're Sony to monetize and actually crack that nut. But they got to get it off console exclusive. I know Media Molecule loves the fact that you can do stuff eventually when you learn it with the Move controllers, just whatever. Just fine, keep that, but give us mouse and keyboard controls, monetize it, make it very easy for people to make money off their creations, and let this thing will blow the fuck out of Roblox, will blow the fuck out of Core Engine. I can't imagine they're not doing that. I'm stunned, not because I have any evidence, but because it's just logical. You've invested this much, and you know the people who are doing it worse than you, aka Roblox, are making shit tons of money. Why would you not? Anybody in their right mind would absolutely do this. I don't agree, Joker. Joker says Sony has strict mod policy controls. When we did Drawn to Death, it was going to launch with a make your own GIF, and you could put whatever GIFs you wanted. The only moderation was if somebody saw something online they thought was offensive, they could tag it, and Sony would look at it and make a call. But it wasn't like you can't do that shit. And yeah, I guess there's going to be multiplayer in Dreams as well. Right. So we'll see. But if you're interested, and this is a magazine they put out, it's digital, of course. I guess you could print it if you want to, but it kind of shows you all the stuff you can do at Dreamscom. It's to me, it's more like a great idea one day. Like this one was a great one. In Hall 12, there's this guy who built these beautiful fantasy weapons that you can get for your own games, but you can go in there and play with them and look at them and shit like that. I think virtual conventions are the way to go. This is kind of a little sampler of maybe what they will be like, but it's not great, but it's worth checking out. It's absolutely worth checking out if you're into this kind of stuff. And I do think Sony, if they can get their shit together with this game, that could be something that really does help their efforts to sort of carve out that free-to-play money, which they're going to need. Microsoft-wise, I don't know. Microsoft said in their earnings call that they have at least 5 new games coming out, first party in the next year. We know Starfield, we know Redfall. I don't know if maybe one of them is also a service game. Who the fuck knows? Okay. You haven't seen it advertised at all, right? No, I know. Fellas, listen to me and listen good. That's been Gabbing and Games for July 26th. Okay. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., Adam Sessler himself is going to be here. Chewing the fat, talking about G4 of old, G4 of new, politics, video games, state of video games, everything and anything. He'll be taking your calls at the end. He'll also be reading some super chats, or I'll be reading them, but if you want to talk to him, that's at 11 o'clock California time, Pacific time tomorrow, Adam Sessler. And then Monday, a week from yesterday, we'll be having Review Tech USA. Rich himself is coming on the show for an interview. And then, we'll be doing some gameplay in this week. I definitely saw Spaz's comment about playing some multiverses. I think we'll be streaming some multiverses very, very soon as well. So be well. Take it easy. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Thank you for hit the like button, like Brian King says. Share the goddamn thing. Consider becoming a member. Consider leaving a super thanks if you want to ask me a specific question. In the meantime, be well, be safe. I'll see you real soon. Bye, everybody. Thank y'all.
Here when we're headed out to space with our